Chapter 97. The water level surged and the river burst its banks. Don't panic, everyone. The country has stationed disaster prevention headquarters in various places to focus on rescuing trapped people. Looking at the screen full of bullets at the end of the scene, Lin Shuiyan quickly appealed, "The trapped people, please wait patiently, please believe in the country, we will not give up on anyone." As the heavy rain continued, disaster relief centers have been established across China, extremely well equipped in all aspects. Countries are following suit, everyone is trying their best to rescue the people trapped in the heavy rain. The abilities of these monsters are becoming more and more incredible. After the live broadcast ends, Lin Shuiyan took off the live broadcast equipment and sighed softly. Until now, she finally understood what the dean said before: the monster dies. It does not mean the crisis is over. The mess left by 004 rainmakers has now made the world troubled. China is no exception. The heavy rainstorm continues, and artificial rain driving methods fail. Those low-lying countries are now probably reduced to a vast ocean. People who had no time to retreat can only be buried in the flood, and this is only the fourth round, and there are still 200 rounds of monsters that have not yet come. Every time I think of this, her mind was trembling, and she was full of curiosity about the ancestors who had passed the customs. How far did they go to be able to pass the level perfectly, and left a civilization trial instruction manual for future generations? Time passes slowly. Heavy rain raged, ruthlessly sweeping through every city in every country. The seventh day of the fourth round of trials, the first wave of derivative disasters finally broke out in a chain. The water levels of rivers in various countries have risen wildly, overflowing their banks, changing their courses, and flooding into nearby farmland and residences. Backing area, disasters such as flash floods and mudslides are coming one after another. A horrific natural disaster really shows its power. In some low-lying areas, water accumulation has become a vast ocean. The people could only scatter and flee towards higher altitudes. Monster Research Institute, confinement room. Shurjian, who was bound by 18 alloy chains, was leisurely closing his eyes to rest. The mood is quite pleasant, since the fourth round of trials came. Those devils gave him a holiday. So much so his days. He stayed in this dark prison cell every day, although there is no freedom. But compared to before, I am not much happier. The more they don't study me, the more it means they are too worried and unable to escape. Shurjian sneered, guessing in his mind, obviously the coming of the spirit race this time has brought a great threat to China. I just don't know which spirit race is coming. He shook his head. The spirit clan is powerful and not weaker than the demon clan. He came before the third round. I heard the elders of the clan say that the next 3 rounds will be a relay of the spirit clan, striving to destroy all civilizations on Earth as soon as possible. What a pity that he is now trapped in a prison cell and cannot get any information. By the way, let's chat with my cousin. Boring. Shurjian had a thought in his mind and used his spiritual thoughts to use the secret method of the race. After more than 10 breaths, I contacted my cousin, who was also captured by humans in the United States. Cousin, the day is not far away when we will be out of trouble. As soon as he got in touch, he couldn't wait to say, Huaxia is very busy now. If you wait for a while, I will find a way to escape from prison. The other party seemed to be in a low mood and did not reply for a long time. Cousin? What's wrong with you? Shurjian was stunned for a moment and asked with concern. After a while, a voice came from the other end, saying weakly, No, the people from the United States tortured me again just now and asked me to explain how to deal with the Fu Zhu clan. Fu Zhu clan? Shurjian's eyes lit up, and he was immediately ecstatic. I didn't expect that the Fu Zhu clan that came to you along the way. Ha ha ha, it's just God helping me. China is destined to be destroyed this time. Wait. Subsequently, he reacted and couldn't help but ask, Did you just say that the United States has been tortured to extract confessions from you these days? Hearing this, on the other side, Yan Jinyue burst into tears and her voice was choked with sobs. Since the beginning of the fourth round of trials, the Americans have interrogated me 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. I obviously don't know anything. But they think I know everything. I can't even maintain my human form now. Woo. Shurjian, listening to my cousin's cry, his mood suddenly became complicated. Should I be lucky or unlucky? Fortunately, I did not fall into the hands of the United States. Unfortunately, he was arrested as soon as he arrived in China. What a disgrace to the Demon Clan. The United States, Department of Defense, damn monster, you have such a tough mouth. Jobs looked livid and slapped the table hard. Since the fourth round of trials, he has been interrogating the 002 imitator day and night. 7 consecutive days. I didn't get any information, and now a torrential rain has caused the situation in the 50 states of the United States to deteriorate. Hundreds of cities have been flooded, and people are being forced to move to higher ground. Minister, According to statistics from various states, about 970,000 people died and were missing yesterday. Hearing the secretary's report, Jobs' mood suddenly hit rock bottom. Under heavy rain, the water in many cities has risen to several meters high, although they initiated emergency measures immediately. But, in the face of the power of natural disasters, the power of technology still seems too small. Countless people have been killed in floods, far more every day. Continue this trend tomorrow. The number of casualties is very likely to exceed 1 million. Urgent information. A rapid voice came, interrupting Jobs' contemplation. The water level in the middle and lower reaches of the Mississippi River has increased sharply. Just now, it has burst its banks. The words have not yet finished. Jobs was suddenly startled and stood up suddenly. A chill come to mind. He quickly gritted his teeth and deployed. Hurry up and ask the people in the middle and lower reaches of the Mississippi River to evacuate immediately, send additional military support, deploy hydrological experts, and do everything possible to prevent the spread of floods. Soon measures were promulgated one after another and quickly sent to all cities in the middle and lower reaches of the Mississippi River. The river It is the largest river in the United States, ranked fourth in the world. The flow of water is extremely amazing. Once the embankment breaks, at least 9 states in the United States, and more than 80 million people will suffer disaster. By the way, where is China? How are they doing? After the deployment, Jobs looked at the secretary behind him and asked, "Today, under heavy rain and floods, the situation in various countries is becoming increasingly critical. Even if Huaxia wiped out all the husbands, they were not spared. The water level in China is also rising sharply, and the Yangtze River has also burst its banks," the secretary said quietly. Chapter 98 New Discoveries in the Field of Particles. China, Jiangnan City. A fire squadron. The sharp and urgent assembly bell rang. Heavy rains have caused the water level of the Yangtze River to rise, and a small section of the embankment has collapsed, located in our city. Lu Zuomin, the squadron leader, stared at the firefighters in front of him with a solemn expression. Sharp eyes, said in a deep voice, "We are now receiving orders from our superiors to send additional squadrons to go quickly to rescue the trapped people." Now the Yangtze River burst its banks, and Jiangnan City bore the brunt. It also affected hundreds of cities in the rear, and the affected area spans several provinces. Permanent residents of Jiangnan City, under the arrangements of other departments, emergency evacuation is underway, but some residents are still trapped in the flood. Let's go. After a brief mobilization, Lu Zuomin shouted at the top of his voice, "Yes." All 50 of his firefighters responded in unison. No unnecessary movements. They drove a professional fire truck, braved heavy rain, and waded into the water toward the direction of the embankment breach. At the same time, assault boats, rescue boats, helicopters, and other equipment are ready to go. A vigorous rescue operation began at the same time. The news that the Yangtze River broke its banks shocked the whole country. TV stations and news media rushed to report on it. A large number of people poured into the official website of the Monster Research Institute and logged into the live broadcast room. Crazy-eyed Yang Imo and Lin Shuiyan asked about the situation of the Yangtze River embankment breach. Did the embankment really break? It's only been 7 days, and this heavy rain is terrible. I live on the edge of the Yangtze River, and the water level of the river has already surged by more than 10 meters. So scary. I heard that the section where the embankment collapsed was in Jiangnan City. How is the situation now? At Dinyang, can we survive this trial crisis? The overall atmosphere of the live broadcast room, they are all a little depressed. Negative. The high spirits of the previous rounds are no longer there. The heavy rain and natural disaster lasted for 7 days, constantly consuming their energy. The rain from the sky keeps falling, as if it will never stop. Or especially, at this moment, countless people were panicked when they heard that the Yangtze River had burst its banks. Everyone, please calm down first. Lin Shuiyan appeared in the live broadcast room and said to the camera, "The dean has been busy with other things recently." As for the Yangtze River bursting its embankment, she pursed her lips. After a pause, he said solemnly, "According to the inferences of our country's hydrology experts and geographers, if a section of the Jiangnan City embankment completely breaks, billions of tons of water will flow into the 5 provinces. All departments have responded urgently and organized people to evacuate. At the same time, people in these 5 provinces are also asked to evacuate in advance. People in low-lying areas in prefectures and cities are asked to relocate as soon as possible and flee to higher ground. This heavy rain will continue for a while. People in all provinces, please stay away from landslides, reservoirs, rivers, sluices, flood areas and other areas, and protect themselves as much as possible. Stay safe, maintain communication, and follow the instructions of relevant departments. Lin Shuiyan's broadcast tone quietly echoed in the live broadcast room, but when tens of millions of netizens heard this, they became even more panicked. The land of 5 provinces, in other words, this embankment breach affected the lives and property of hundreds of millions of people. How does this make them calm? My mother is in these 5 provinces, nothing will happen to her, she is still young. We have just gained 100 years of life, and suddenly this kind of disaster comes again. This damn civilization test, is it intentional? I'm just a landlubber, I can't swim, so improving my physical fitness is of no use. It's only the 4th round, we won't be able to survive it, right? For a while, a pessimistic atmosphere permeated the live broadcast room. Heavy rain disaster always provoke their tense nerves. In the news, from time to time, people can be seen being swept away by floods and buried in mudslides and landslides. In just 7 days, the death toll in China exceeds the sum of the past 3 months. Under the accumulation of various emotions, various negative emotions have enveloped the hearts of the people. Everyone, please don't panic, we will definitely be able to get through this crisis. Lin Shuiyan saw this and could only keep calling. It's just, no matter how she persuaded her, the effect was minimal. Laboratory. Dean, I found it. Lu Fuyuan held a giant horn in his hand and looked at Yang Mo excitedly. Among the 4 giant horns of 004 Rainmaker, there are really, it contains strange power that can activate the flow of particles and release them explosively. Under the guidance of Yang Mo, after 7 days of non-stop research, the particle research team he led finally made a certain breakthrough, discovered the strange power in 004 Rainmaker's horn. It happens to be similar to the particle field. How long will it take to master this finished product technology? Yang Mo took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice. This technology happens to be a key part of the Thunder God and Lightning Mother plan, beamed by particles. Then it releases a controllable flow of high-energy particles, completely destroying the remaining power of more than 2,000 cities within the territory. It will take at least 3 days. Lu Fuyuan calmed down and estimated. Hurry up, we don't have much time. Yang Mo looked at Lu Fuyuan, feeling a little impatient. This scene of the Yangtze River bursting its embankments. He has experienced it in his previous life. Because of this, he knew better how many casualties this disaster would bring and how heavy a blow it would inflict on China. It was also this incident that plunged many Chinese people into despair. Morale is low, failed to recover. This time, he must never let this happen again. At the same time, Jiangnan City, with the close cooperation of various departments, this city with a permanent population of 800,000 is evacuating as quickly as possible. In the sky, the heavy rain is still pouring down. Reinforcements from various places also arrived along the Yangtze River one after another. 200,000 people from 17 units of the military, carrying 875 vehicles and equipment of various types, quickly advanced towards the embankment breach and upstream. The military's broadcast resounded amid the heavy rain. Take orders from superiors. All affairs in Jiangnan City are now taken over by our army. Firefighters from all over the place immediately carry out search and rescue operations for scattered people. The rest of the personnel, please cooperate with me immediately. The army participate in the repair and consolidation of the dam, and must not allow the dam failure to continue to expand. A group of flood control experts and professors made emergency arrangements. Start the first level plan, taking into account local conditions. A plan to strengthen the embankment was quickly formulated. Block piping, dredge roads, and guide rivers. An order was given. The first batch of 200,000 military officers to arrive rushed to the front line of the embankment breach. Use various drainage equipment, organize flood drainage and rescue operations, build arc-shaped cofferdams, and try to establish a line of defense to regain control of the horrific floods. Live broadcast room. As time goes by, more and more people flocked to it. The number reached more than 60 million. The tense atmosphere also intensified. Chapter 99. Those who wish to save the world, please take a step forward. Everyone is asking about the situation of the embankment collapse in Jiangnan City. Live broadcast. There is a live broadcast. Suddenly, netizens discovered that the fixed scene in the live broadcast room suddenly changed. On-site rescue footage from Jiangnan City actually appeared. A reporter was riding in an assault boat, live broadcasting the scene simultaneously. The troops of the 2 divisions have been on the front line, trying to save the section of the embankment that collapsed. At the same time, local satellite TV stations across the country are also broadcasting the rescue scene simultaneously, fighting on a 12-kilometer-long defense line. A few hundred meters away from them, there was a monstrous flood, which could collapse a large area of the embankment at any time. The country is taking action. See the scene. The people in the live broadcast room felt warm and felt a sense of security. Aerial view. The soldiers fought on the defense line and carried out various operations such as reinforcing dams and clearing piping surges. The scene is extremely spectacular. Their nervous and restless hearts finally stopped being restless, just watching the live broadcast quietly for a while. There are much fewer barrages. Monster Research Institute. Dean's office. Can it be successful? Yang Mo looked at the rescue scene and murmured in a low voice, "Previous lives, the 7th round also suffered this breach of fighting. Measures have also been taken trying to strengthen the embankment and repair the broken section of the embankment to stop the monstrous flood, but it failed in the end. Although the people evacuated in a timely manner, it still caused huge casualties and economic losses." No, why is the water level rising so fast? Through the live broadcast from a high altitude, Yang Mo suddenly noticed the changes in the water level. The expression on his face changed slightly. The water level, which was originally rising slowly, has increased a lot faster. Based on past life experience, it is very likely that a large reservoir or lake on the branch line suddenly burst its banks. This is bad. His heart sank. Jiangnan City, temporary command post. Commander Sun, the first reinforcement of the 12 kilometers of defense line has been completed and the second round of reinforcement work is being started. The arc-shaped cofferdam project in the breached embankment section has been completed. All large trucks and ships carrying wood and rocks are being mobilized to fill the area, and the engineers and local firefighters have built the prototype of the cofferdam. The latest progress is reported here. After hearing the news, Sun Hongyi's tense nerves relaxed a little. Let's all work harder to complete the cofferdam work as soon as possible to stop this flood. He took a deep breath and still did not dare to slack off. Compared to strengthening the dam, the Arc cofferdam is the top priority. IT will shoulder the important task of blocking the flood in the broken embankment section and plug the gap again. Otherwise, as long as one section is lost, all the dams along the line will collapse under the impact of the flood. Not good. A flood control expert looked pale and his lips could not help but tremble. 30 kilometers upstream, the embankment suddenly burst and a large amount of lake water flowed into the river. The current water level is starting to rise again. The words just fell. In the entire command post, everyone's expressions changed drastically. The house leaked and it rained all night. They had just made some progress in fighting floods, but they encountered this unexpected situation again. At the current rate of water level rise, the pressure in the breach section will reach its peak in 19 hours. The flood control expert slumped in his chair, looking a little desperate. Once the peak is reached, all their previous efforts will be in vain. The dike was destroyed, the torrential floods in the river will gallop across the land like wild horses running wild. Arc cofferdam. Sun Hongyi stared at the expert, with his eyes filled with bloodshot eyes. He gritted his teeth and asked, "If our army successfully builds the arc-shaped cofferdam within 19 hours, can it stop this surge of water?" The expert was stunned for a moment, smiled bitterly. He nodded and said, "Theoretically, it is possible, but the embankments along the line need at least 6 rounds of reinforcement." The reason why he said theoretically this is because the water pressure in the breached section is getting bigger and bigger, floods are rushing out of it crazily, and the water level in the cofferdam operation will also rise 0.10 meters high. The difficulty of underwater operations has increased exponentially. It would be extremely difficult to complete the construction work of this 2-kilometer-long arc-shaped cofferdam within 19 hours. Is it as difficult as climbing to the sky? Sun Hongyi smiled miserably, but his eyes suddenly flashed with light. He turned around. We walked to the military radio at the temporary command post. He announced in a deep voice, "Soldiers fighting on the embankment, here I want to tell you some bad news." The embankment burst upstream and the lake water poured in, causing the water level to skyrocket. Soon, the monstrous flood will destroy the levees, and the water difference of tens of meters will roll back, destroying the city behind us, as well as several provinces behind us land. His sad voice echoed along the 12 kilometers. Everyone, they raised their heads in unison. The military, firefighters, water conservancy personnel, engineering teams from Jiangnan City, volunteers from other cities, everyone pursed their lips and listened to the radio in silence. Heavy rain slapped them in the face mercilessly. Everyone's mood is extremely heavy now. People on the defense line, no matter where you come from or which department you belong to. Those who are willing to save the world, please take a step forward. Report to the command post. On the radio, Sun Hongyi's hoarse voice came out again, intertwined with heavy rain, but it fell in everyone's ears very clearly. Next, along the 12 kilometers, One person stood up one after another, straightened the back that was bent due to long hours of work, take a step forward, move forward, the eye in the eyes, with perseverance and determination to give up on others. Sun Hongyi's last words seemed to light a fire that was almost extinguished by heavy rain that lasted for several days. No. To be precise, this fire is in the heart of every Chinese person. As long as China is not extinguished, it will never be extinguished. The sky is turning. At this moment, temporary command post, Sun Hongyi put down the radio channel, as if he had exhausted all his strength, sit down quietly, anxiously waiting for the results. Not long after, the people under my command reported the situation along the 12 kilometers. There were not just one or two people who responded to him, but countless. A single spark can start a prairie fire. Although human beings are ants, they also have the courage to compete with the sky. He stood up suddenly, endless pride welling up in his chest. Outside the embankment, the monstrous flood no longer seemed scary to him at this moment. China has this, definitely prosperous forever. Inform them to gather at the broken embankment section quickly. He took a deep breath and walked out of the command post. Not long after, the first batch of responders all rushed to the work site of the arc-shaped cofferdam. At this time, the water level is rising, and the base part of the cofferdam has been submerged by the rising water level. Trucks and ships were sunk into it, filling the main body of the cofferdam. But in addition to mechanical engineering work, most of the cofferdam projects require manual work. Give me the tools. The crowd responded. A middle-aged man wearing a firefighter's uniform roared, took working tools and jumped into the flood below. Chapter 100. Everywhere in the mountains and rivers, there are people who move people. Speed of shore operations. It is far faster than working in the water, but the same thing, working in water is also more dangerous. Who is this person? Sun Hongyi's pupils narrowed and he couldn't help but look into the water. He seems to be the captain of a fire squadron in Jiangnan City. His name is Lu Zuomin. The deputy behind him said. Sun Hongyi nodded and silently remembered the name, but then, plop! Behind him, among the people who responded, another person jumped into the flood, braving the heavy rain. The whole person was soaked in the water and doing homework. Which department is he from? Sun Hongyi's heart trembled and he asked quickly. He is. Before the deputy had time to reply, he heard another pop sound. Plop plop, more and more people jumped into the water and assisted the others in water operations. They have received a notice from the command post and learned that this 2-kilometer-long arc-shaped cofferdam must be built within 19 hours. Sun Hongyi's throat rolled, but it seemed as if something heavy was pressing down on him, making him unable to speak. The scene in front of you, his heart was shocked like never before. He discovered there are too many people diving. They were all unfamiliar faces, and he didn't recognize any of them at the same time. The scene in Jiangnan City was also synchronized to the whole country with the reporter's report. In front of the TV and in the live broadcast room, all over the country, the people in China were all watching the people who jumped into the flood. It felt like something had been knocked over in my heart. I feel inexplicable. Those who dive come from different departments, and their working methods may be unfamiliar and unskilled, but everyone is following orders. As per the engineer's requirements for that 19-hour goal, work hard. You must pay attention to safety. The flood is so deep, don't be washed away. Is it too late? It took 19 hours to build such a large cofferdam. Can we hold back the flood? Don't jump, you can still work on the shore. In the screen, every time a person jumped into the water, the hearts of the Chinese people trembled. Facing the torrential floods, they jumped in with firm faces and no fear of natural disasters. Obviously he is immortal. His frail body seemed to contain immense power, can hold back thousands of armies, can suppress world-destroying floods. Don't let anything happen. The eyes of the Chinese people were red. They clasped their hands and murmured softly, what they can do now, just pray silently for those on the front line to return safely. Monster Research Institute. Dean's office. Turning the sky, Yang Mo stared at the people who jumped into the flood and repeated these 3 words. And now the floods are raging. The angry dragon of the Yangtze River may break out of its trap at any time and wreak havoc on the land of China. The sky is about to fall, but these people in Jiangnan City are trying to save this disaster. Challenge the power of nature. Try it with your bare hands, mending the cracks in the sky. It is beyond the power of one person to turn the sky upside down. He took a deep breath and murmured in a deep voice. In the past life, countless people came forward one after another, rushing to stand up. But, in the end, Huaxia barely managed to survive the 12th round of trials. The trials of civilization are extremely cruel. One round after another. No chance to stop and recuperate it all. Therefore, before the destruction of China in the previous life, I learned from the pain and found the path of science fiction heaven. In a desperate situation, the whole country is advancing in science and technology. With its great power, come and suppress the monsters from the 5 tribes that descended. During the trial, Thunder God and Lightning Mother, this meteorological space-based weapon is enough to suppress most of the Eldar in the early stage. Dean, there is news from the Lindsay base that the charging of the mysterious stone tablet is almost completed. Lin Shuiyan quickly ran into the office. It's finally done. Yang Mo stood up suddenly, and his frown finally relaxed a little. In this heavy rain disaster, it seems that the military and personnel from various cities are guarding the front line, fighting desperately against the floods, but others in the scientific research department and engineering department have not been idle. In the institute, the research team members are working overtime to break through the high-energy particle beam transmission technology, Lindsay base, a controllable nuclear fusion energy station provides backup energy support to the whole country. In the Yaoqi Biological Research and Development Center, the 120,000 genetic information in the Mandui chip is being deciphered rapidly. In the Thunder God and Lightning Mother Research and Development Base, various basic supporting facilities have begun to take shape. There are still countless people in their respective fields. They work hard and stick to it silently, trying to save the day, now just waiting the advent of quantum computer technology and high-energy particle beam transmission technology. Prepare a special plane, I want to go to Lindsay. Yanjing. Cabinet. Several old men also received urgent messages from Jiangnan City. I am getting old, and my tears are low. Wang Yu took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Look around. He found that the others had the same reaction as him, with their heads lowered, as if there was sand in their eyes. The more disaster we face, the more touching the mountains and rivers of China are. The old man in the lead side, full of emotion these days, they received reports on the situation in cities across the country. When facing heavy rains and floods, there are countless unknown people who stood up to protect everyone. They may have different positions, maybe the salary varies, maybe the identities are different, maybe, but when China was facing disaster, they all sprung up like mushrooms after a rain and went forward one after another, resolutely guard this land. Mountains and rivers are full of people who move people. Nothing more. Jiangnan City, as the largest flood disaster area, attracts special attention. I think it is necessary to hold a press conference. The old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology stood up and looked at everyone. Recent heavy rains have continued, and people's morale has been sluggish. But the more and more at a time of crisis, the cohesion of a country and a civilization can be more clearly demonstrated. This was the case with China 100 years ago. It is the same today. Hear the words. They all nodded, agreed with the suggestion of holding a press conference to mobilize and rally people's hearts. Let Dean Yang preside over it. The leader of the old man pondered and suggested. Dean Yang is presiding over the Thunder God and Lightning Mother project. I'm afraid I won't be able to escape. The old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology shook his head and replied. Then, everyone looked at each other. Eventually, he looked at Wang Yu, who recommended Yang Mo. Then let me. Wang Yu touched his nose and did not refuse. The cabinet meeting ended quickly. He went straight to the press conference and launched the press conference that mobilized the hearts of the people across the country. At the same time, globally, in order to stabilize the sluggish and restless public sentiment, the United States, Gaul, Sakura, and other countries are also holding press conferences.